Hello everyone. Today I'm going to go over the dragon mechanic for Kil'Jaeden in the Swanwell Plateau. The dragon's use and how the raid reacts to it is one of the key ways that you tackle the fight, and it can make the fight either extremely easy or extremely difficult. So this is going to be for anybody who plans on using a dragon. So the first thing I want to mention is that there are four abilities. This is the first ability on the pet bar is blink. It's on the global cooldown. Otherwise, it's just a little blink, which you can use to be mobile. Uh, there is a breathe ability, revitalize, and this does mana and health regen. And then there's breathe haste, which is the most important one, and that one does a couple of things. Gives you increases your attack speed, increases your movement speed, and also immunity to the effects that reduce movement speed, which is from the flame darts. What's not written down here is that also it removes the splash component from flame darts as well. And then of course so this is 1, 2, 3, and this is 5. This is the shield of the blue. This is what's going to protect you against the darkness mechanic, but it also could be used to prevent damage from meteor, from bloom, etc. So what I want to do is basically go through a playthrough of a Kil'Jaeden kill, um, and to basically kind of walk you through the timings of when to do what. So I'm just going to skip past phase 0 here because that's not really quite relevant. I'll also go throughout the video, kind of point out some tips that we use to kind of make this fight easier. You definitely want to be spread less than 180 degrees in the back, and the back makes it easier to deal with dragon orbs because they spawn and run towards you. You want to make sure that you're 10 yards apart for bloom, but if you're a little close to somebody, that's fine. When you get bloom, then you'd have to run out, or have some people run out of you. Eating a tick or two is not the end of the world, especially if you're 7 healing. So we're just kind of basically just a little DPS check, everybody spread. No, not a lot of mechanics right now except for this fire bloom. It's very important to watch the timers on bloom. It's not always perfect for him, but here he got a new set of 5 blooms. This is important when you're stacking in and out. Sometimes right before you stack, he changes his bloom targets. So you want to make sure that you're positive that he's not blooming before a stack. At the level of 87%, I ask people to do a little mini crunch.
Half crunch. The new blooms in 3 though, so just be careful.
So we got a new set of blooms, and we do after these blooms, we do a crunch, and basically what it means is everybody kind of comes a bit closer to the center, so the ads spawn.
Everybody crunch, crunch, crunch. Halfway crunch.
And then the ads spawn a little bit closer to the prop pally, so it doesn't have to run to the middle of nowhere to.
Okay, reflections up.
To get the ads.
Go
Alright, so this is phase 2, below 85%. This is when the orb mechanic becomes active. So he does shadow spikes for about 20. You see that cooldown here. And he still does his bloom. You see that right there. So you still have to stay spread. The goal here is to pre-stack for a haste buff before darkness. And so we're going to do that almost as soon as the dragon orb is up. So here you can see the dragon orb is up in 5. And we're going to have this player, Renshi, the hunter, to go grab it. Right when it goes off, we're going to have the whole raid stack.
Go ahead and stack his skull. Or on the flare, sorry, purple flare. On the purple flare. And wait to haste on the purple flare.
The reason why we're waiting to haste is we want to... So if this flame dart goes off and people are stacked, the splash damage will kill everyone. But if you have the haste buff, the splash damage component is removed. So that's one thing. But we also want to make sure that our haste buff covers all the way up till darkness. So when people have to run in and out, they have that speed buff. And it makes the fight infinitely easier. You don't want to wait too long. Because if you wait too long, sometimes he casts this flame dart early, like at 5 seconds remaining. So my goal is to try to cast this haste at like 30 to 35 seconds. Here we kind of pushed it a little bit.
Guys. Okay, go ahead and haste.
As you can see, this bear did not get this buff, so our player is going to try to prioritize, even though he's close to the stack point, we'll try to prioritize people who did not get the haste buff.
Have to stack tight. Come on.
This is me being annoyed that the stack was not
I think
tight.
it's fine. We need to learn to do it there because I think it's going to help us in phase 4.
So continue with the same mechanics, and basically the note that there was 30 seconds left on Darkness, which means that you can haste buff and revitalize buff twice among the raid. He haste buffs the melee, who are semi-stacked, and then revitalize buffs the ranged and healers to get the mana back. And you can do that each breath twice, but you want to save your third one
Darkness in 5.
after the shield. So Darkness is in 5 seconds. We're going to make a call to stack. It's very important to watch this Fire Bloom. Usually I'll wait till Darkness is being cast itself, because then he will not Fire Bloom. When the timers are close, sometimes you may have to kind of wait a second. So he's going to go right into Darkness, did not bloom. And so then we can get the stack.
Stack on purple flare.
It's a little bit, it's on this lip, guys.
Remember, stay for haste. Stay for haste.
So this is very important here. I want to show you that Darkness, you want to pop the shield. The shield lasts for 5 seconds, and so when he pops it, his weak aura shows him. It's an 8-second cast, and the shield lasts 5 seconds. So if you shield early, their whole raid will wipe. So you want to wait till at least 5 seconds, but we say 4 seconds to be safe, and he does it at 4. The other thing is, when do you haste? So for the first shield of the phase, we have people, our dragon drop the shield first. Everybody stays stacked, because it's safe to stay stacked right after Darkness, because he doesn't cast Flame Darts right away. And then to make sure he hastes everybody. If he hastes first, then shields, he'll be missing the stragglers. And they're usually the ones on the outskirts, and then they come back and they don't have the haste buff. So here's Flame Dart coming out, but that's okay, because every single person has the haste buff. And there'll be another set of Flame Darts that comes out, and those will also not be an issue, because the haste buff will persist. So again, new sets of Flame Darts, and here we'll have a little bit of space between Fire Bloom in 5 seconds and Darkness. So this is important. We're going to get a new set of Fire Blooms, so the people who...
Sets of Fire Blooms coming out soon,
so
and then we're going to stack in 5.
So is he going to do it? Yeah, he does. So now there's a new set of Fire Blooms, so those guys know not to crunch, which is perfect. The timing is ideal.
Stack on purple. Stack, stack, stack.
So notice these Fire Blooms are not going to come in until late, and then at 4 seconds they shield, and then they can come in. The shield will protect you from Fire Bloom damage as well. So here, he did not he hasted at the beginning, because once you do your second shield, the dragon disappears. So you can haste early, you'll miss some people, but that's okay, because there won't be another stack point for this phase. You have to push them. So
haste and spread out. Oh, you can't haste. It's fine.
This is me remembering that.
Alright, 58%.
So here, even if you get the slow from the Flame Dart, not a big deal. There won't be another crunch.
New blooms out. Careful.
Or another stack, rather.
Somebody make room for this bloom that's behind Skull.
So here you just have to get him to 55%.
We don't want people to be near purple flare. If you're near... Fine right now, but...
Yeah. Here I mention that I don't want people near the stack. The reason why is because I want my stack to be free of meteors. If the meteors are usually casted on a player, and the last thing I want is to have a meteor pre-casted on the stack, and everybody stacks in, and it drops on everybody. So that's kind of the rationale behind it.
Be super good about purges here. Super good about purges. Every shaman, really.
Please kill this shield orb. Holy shit, guys.
Shield orbs are a priority.
Okay. Seed.
So again, the Shadow Spike will finish around this, and then around that time, the Dragon Orb will spawn, and we're going to pre-stack. In this phase, the pre-stack needs to be quicker, and the player that's supposed to get the dragon needs to be very quick. For this very reason, we have our dragon player have rocket boots.
We're gonna stack right when this orc spawns.
That way he can get the dragon immediately.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna stack in.
And what he's gonna do is he's gonna dragon boots or rocket boots, grab the dragon, blink, haste immediately, so that we can beat the flame darts.
We're gonna stack on skull this time. It's gonna be on.
So remember, flame darts is in 10. So dragon orb is activated. It's on the opposite side of the map, and this is where rocket boots are super helpful. And he's gonna blink and then haste, and then everybody spreads.
Spread.
And then flame darts.
Watch the meteors. Watch the Armageddon, guys. Get the shield orbs down. Still a priority, even though we're lusted.
One T-pad, watch out T-pad.
This is our lust phase after the haste buff, because you want to make the most out of lust.
Near the purple flare, please.
Get away from the stack point so that there's new meteors, and the dragon continues doing what he did the last phase, which is haste the melee, revitalize the casters, and
okay, stack on purple flare now. Everybody on purple.
So this is 10 seconds. We got new blooms, so they're gonna stay out a little bit.
Alan needs to... Freedom Kidman.
And he does it at 4 seconds so the blooms can
Remember,
come in
we're
and protect you
staying
from
for
that
haste. We're
damage.
staying for haste.
And again, this is the first shield of this phase, so we do the haste buff after the shield. So everybody sticks in, gets the haste buff, and then runs out. And this will cover you even though the next darkness is more than 30 seconds away. The flame darts will be both, there will be 2 of them, and they'll be both within 30 seconds. So it'll protect you against the movement debuff. So here's the first one, and there's going to be another one 17 seconds, and it'll be protected for both of them.
Fire blooms out. Demo, can you onk?
Thunder.
New sets of flame darts. Darkness in 10, but we're gonna get blooms first. After the new set of blooms, we're gonna stack on skull. Or sorry, on purple flare, which is no longer there. Alright, everybody on purple, on dragon now.
The purple flare is removed, but again, we're going to stack in a place where there's no areas, and you see the blooms are
Go ahead,
staying
shield.
out. Once the shield goes in.
Shield and blooms in. Haste.
So one thing to note that will be extremely helpful is
shield, blooms in.
for this one it does not matter because he hasted before popping the shield. But when you do try to stack, even when you get into the safe area, still try to be on top of the stack, just because it's easier to get another set of haste buffs if that dragon was going to stay alive. And this one does not matter because the dragon was going to die. And again, this is now going to be a burnt phase. There's no more dragon. So the fact that you don't have a second haste on everybody doesn't matter.
Alright, push.
Orbs. Field orbs.
And the main thing here is that the fight is infinitely easier when the stacking and spreading you're doing with your haste buff. So getting those haste buffs at the right time at the beginning of every phase sets you up for a lot of success. It's the biggest growing pain in this fight.
New sinister reflections.
Do we kill the mages? Or
So this is a new phase at 25%. We get another set of sinister reflections. And then the other thing is all dragon orbs will be up in 31 seconds. So from this point onwards, we are doing a kind of a baby shoes strat where we have all
both of you grab a dragon.
All orbs are going to be used.
And rare act, you grab a
And it allows us to buff everybody in between phases, and allows us to have a second dragon shield in case of an emergency, like a meteor landing on the raid and we need to chain them back to back. In an ideal world, you want to, I mean, you know, in terms of DPS, for most guilds that are fighting KJ, they'll have enough DPS to do it with only 2. So you may only need 2, but you know, there's not much healing, so you can even have a healer do this because everybody's going to have their revitalized breath with 3 or 4 dragons up. And so here we ask, make sure it's very easily communicated who is doing the orb.
Stack on square, and this is this is Tegrity. Tegrity's shield.
And so here at 5 seconds, he pops it, and then he's going to haste. I mean, you know, there's going to be a haste buff afterwards, and everybody spreads. Now notice this timing is going to be a lot tighter. In 10 seconds, we're stacking again, right? So we're just doing this little dance here. In the meantime, the dragons are hasting and revitalizing everyone.
Everybody stack behind Skull at stack point now. This is going to be a rare act. Go ahead now, rare act, shield.
And so here we notice that when everybody stacks, one of the players became a meteor target, which is obviously not ideal when the whole raid is stacked. So it's very important to leave the stack point as quickly as possible.
Watch the meteor. Watch the meteor. Keep hasting everyone. Keep DPSing. Get ready to stack behind Skull again, and now, let's go ahead and do it now. This is going to be Integrity again.
So here I made a little mistake. If you do have 2 dragons or 4 dragons, the idea is you should be alternating them or using 1, 2, 3, 4 and then having them double up again. The reason why is if you shield twice in a row, your dragon will be gone. But if everybody shields once, then you'll still have 4 dragons in the in-between phases.
Let's do Darren. Darren's doing it. Atisha's doing it. Go.
So for clear communication is very important so that you avoid any issues.
Get away from the meteor. Next is going to be Demonicus. Alright, let's get ready to stack in 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and behind.
Let's go, boys.
I love it.
Shit,
I
Luke.
love it.
The dragons are very important in success in this fight, and if you do this right, this fight becomes very easy. And if it's done improperly at the wrong times, then you'll have a lot of issues in this fight. Best of luck.